All right, welcome back. For months, radical anarchists from Antifa and Black Lives Matter have been burning down our cities in the name of, quote, racial justice. But leaders of the Democratic Party stood back, saying absolutely nothing, as people's livelihoods went up in flames. Radical Democrats and their public relations representatives posing as journalists tell us daily that the riots are, quote, mostly peaceful protests. We know that's a lie. Just look at the video in August. Multiple polls began showing Americans do not want their communities being looted in the name of Black Lives Matter or getting burned down by some privileged 20-something-year-old gender studies major from Berkeley. And like clockwork, CNN anchor and DNC mouthpiece, none other than Don Lemon, issues a warning that it might hurt Joe Biden's chance of winning.
This is a blind spot for Democrats. I think Democrats are ignoring this problem or hoping that it will go away. The rioting has to stop. Chris, as you know and I know, it's showing up in the polling. It's showing up in focus groups. It is the only thing right now that is sticking.
Well, so miraculously, the media starts to call for the rioting to stop. Elected Democrats start to call for the rioting to stop, only after polls show it's hurting the radical Democrats and CNN calls for it. A majority of Americans are decent, hardworking people and want to feel safe in their neighborhoods. And President Trump stands for law and order. Leaders of the Democratic Party know this, and it terrifies them. That's a fact. To discuss all of this, anti-crime activist, New York City mayoral candidate, and founder of the Guardian Angels, our friend Curtis Sliwa, is back with us. Curtis, good evening.
It's not a good evening in New York City. We continue to slide into the abyss. People unemployed, emotionally disturbed, homeless people, criminals roam the streets. It's a mess. It's a hot mess. I'll tell you that from the epicenter, New York City.
Well, you know what's so sad, Curtis, is New York City is a great example of what happens under liberal leadership. We're seeing it in San Francisco. We're seeing it in places like Portland. The riots and the looting and all that stuff didn't help. But lo and behold, the polls change. The Democrats tell everyone to back off. They just go away until what, after the election?
Or, as many police departments are predicting, and I'm sure they got pretty good intel, on about the 25th, they're anticipating that there might be a lot more street activity, could lead to looting, could lead, because remember, Antifa, they have a mind of their own. They're anarchists. They hate all government. They hate all elected officials, but somebody's paying their bills. So whoever it is that's paying their bills, that's keeping them afloat, that gets them to be able to transport teams of their provocateurs from city to city, obviously that's a shot caller. So what you are stating today makes a hell of a lot of sense when you consider just a month ago there was insurrection in the streets of major urban areas and smaller cities in America, from the West Coast to the East Coast to the heartland of America.
And Curtis, it goes to what I've been saying for so long, was that Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the leaders of the Democratic Party did have the power to at least make a difference and tell these rioters and looters to stand down. And I don't want to confuse them with the violent thugs that are in the streets of Chicago and New York. That's a whole different scenario. But they could have tried to help this and tell them to stand down, and it would have worked. This is proof.
No, in fact, Senator Harris has said they need to continue to take to the streets. That Black Lives Matter is the greatest civil rights group in our lifetime. Now, remember, she just turned, 56? Really? It surpasses what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did and a number of the civil rights organizers back in the 60s? But no. There are so many who believe that their methods of insurrection, the rioting, the looting, has forced the hand of elected officials. And let's be honest, initially, when the rioting and looting took place, officials were running for cover, including a lot of Republicans who were capitulating to the mob. And now I think they've learned their lesson. But if Joe Biden becomes our next president of the United States, trust me, they're not all going to go to sleep. They will continue to pressure this administration, this Democratic administration, for everything that they want to do, which is to undo our way of life, to destroy capitalism, and to basically imprint themselves on the American psyche.
Curtis, that's because they're street terrorists, and that's what terrorists do. And they've got an agenda at play, and they are hell-bent on getting it no matter who gets hurt in the way. And that's your family, my family, and everybody out there's family. Buddy, I wish you luck in your mayoral race. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
I'll keep fighting those thugs, and when Antifa comes, it's me and them. I got to save my city.
Well, if I'm in New York, I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with you, brother. We'll talk again soon.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.